We're live.
Beautiful, that's good. Yeah, that's good.
Good evening, everyone. I will call the Peace River Town Council regular meeting of March 10th to order at 5 p.m. So we've got the agenda in front of us. Are there any changes to it?
I have none, your worship, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, would someone like to move us forward?
So moved.
Okay, Councillor Ford moves the council adopt the agenda March 10th, 2025, and the regular council meeting as presented. All those in favor? It is carried. Thank you. Now we have the minutes of the February 24th regular council meeting. Has anyone noticed any edits that they would put forward for that? If not, can someone please, Councillor Good?
I'll move the council adopt the minutes of February 24th, 2025 regular council meeting as presented.
Thank you. All those in favor? It is carried. Thank you. Okay, we do not have public hearings tonight, but we do have a presentation from the Alberta Forest Products Association with Laura Brandon and maybe others. Laura is forestry educator and from Worthwhile. Oh, got it all together. So if you would come forward and announce your name into the microphone. And the presentation is up on the screen. And we'll see each other through this owl.
Do I press the talk button?
Yeah, just press the one that turns red. There you're on.
Okay. Okay,
You're ready.
good. You guys can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So for those of you who may not be familiar with our organization, the Alberta Forest Products Association represents forestry companies across the province that produce everything from lumber and pulp to bioenergy and engineered wood products. I should introduce myself first too. My name is Laura Brandon. I'm a forestry educator and I'm here on behalf of AFPA to talk with you all today. So today I want to talk about some of the most pressing trade challenges facing our sector, particularly rising softwood lumber duties, U.S. trade barriers, and global competition, and more importantly, what we can do to safeguard Alberta's forest industry for the future. The stakes are high. Alberta's forest industry contributes significantly to our economy, yet it's increasingly at risk due to factors beyond our control. Trade and tariffs, regulatory hurdles, and a shifting global trade landscape. So we're here today to discuss some of the ways that we can mitigate the risks. So the forest industry supports over 30,000 jobs across Alberta, many in rural areas where forestry is a primary employer. In addition to direct employment, forestry contributes to transportation, construction, engineering, and manufacturing, creating a ripple effect across multiple sectors. Approximately 50% of Alberta's forest products are exported to the U.S., making trade a key component of our forest industry success. The rising trade barriers threaten our ability to compete and grow as an industry. So these factors risk the livelihoods of many communities, including Peace River. So we'll talk about the elephant in the room, the trade barriers and tariffs on Canadian softwood lumber. So right now, softwood lumber duties are at 14.54%, already a significant burden on Alberta's producers. By the summer of 2025, these duties are projected to exceed 30%, which is more than double their current rate. On top of that, Trump's 25% tariffs could push trade barriers past 50%, making it nearly impossible for lumber mills to remain competitive. The Trump tariffs would also impact products like pulp and wood panels that are not currently subject to tariffs. So we want to talk about solutions. So Alberta's government has a critical role to play in ensuring our forest sector remains strong despite these challenges. So things we can do. Number one, advocate for Alberta forest products in the United States. One of the most important steps is strong advocacy at the federal and international levels. Alberta needs to push back against unfair trade practices and communicate why these tariffs hurt both Canadians and Americans. So lumber duties are a tax on U.S. consumers. The U.S. housing market depends on Canadian wood to keep prices stable. The U.S. simply cannot produce enough lumber domestically. Even with tariffs, they still need our products. Alberta's forestry industry supports thousands of American jobs. Pulp from Alberta is a key input in the United States paper and packaging manufacturing. The forest industry in Alberta buys many products that are made in the US, including machinery, trucks, resins for wood panels, and technologies. So by working closely with the federal government, Alberta must push for a fair and long-term resolution to the softwood lumber dispute. Number two, keeping Alberta's regulatory costs low. Trade barriers are only one part of the challenge. Domestic policies also impact our ability to compete. So British Columbia's high regulatory costs have led to mill closures and job losses. Alberta is already a leader in forestry competitiveness, but this needs to continue to be a focus. Competitive timber dues and streamlined permitting will help mills operate efficiently and remain viable. Keeping costs manageable protects jobs and ensures continued investment in Alberta's forestry sector. Number three, we want to build with Alberta wood. So one way to counteract trade uncertainty is to boost domestic demand. Encouraging more construction with Alberta grown and Alberta manufactured wood can reduce reliance on exports. A Build with Alberta Wood Act could be a powerful policy tool to incentivize local use. BC and Quebec have actually already implemented similar programs with success. Promoting mass timber construction and engineered wood products can drive innovation and create new markets for Alberta lumber. So as mentioned, the Build with Wood Act has been used in places like BC and Quebec. This is actually the Brock Commons, an 18-story student housing building for UBC in Vancouver. Next, we want to advocate for federal financial assistance. So since 2016, $10 billion in duty deposits have been held by the US Treasury, funds that rightfully belong to Canadian producers. This financial strain weakens mills, limits investments, and threatens jobs. A federal financial backstop could help provide much needed relief, helping mills weather this crisis until a long-term trade resolution is reached. Alberta must push the federal government to act, ensuring our industry gets the support it needs to remain competitive and resilient. Number five, continue to support market diversification. So Alberta needs to look past the United States and aggressively pursue new trade opportunities. Growth markets such as India, the Philippines, China, Japan, and Korea offer significant potential. Alberta should be actively marketing its forestry products abroad and supporting industry participation in trade missions and international partnerships. A diversified market approach reduces our vulnerability to the United States trade policies and strengthens long-term resilience. However, to do this, we need to make sure that we have reliable transportation for our product. So this is where the AFPA and our members have are active, and we support the Community Rail Advocacy Alliance. The voices of participating municipalities have been very valuable as well. And finally, implement a forestry manufacturing tax credit. To remain competitive, we need innovation and investment in value-added forestry products. A forestry manufacturing tax credit would encourage companies to invest in new technologies and products. This could support initiatives like bioenergy, engineered wood products, and high-tech forestry solutions, which will secure Alberta's place as a leader in sustainable forestry. This tax credit has already been proposed, but now is the time for action. So in conclusion, Alberta's forestry industry is strong, but we face real challenges that require immediate action. With strong advocacy, smart policy decisions, we continue support with continued support for municipalities. We can overcome these challenges and secure a prosperous future for our communities. So our call to action, we are asking that you folks send a letter of support to the Premier alongside advocacy to the local MP. So thank you so much for your time. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. So those tariffs, they've been ongoing in the lumber industry, but it looks really sad and bad sort of thing for the next round too.
It's a little, yeah.
That's lots of things. Do you know if in Alberta, like you mentioned, the student housing in BC, is there such a building or building type happening in Alberta?
I don't know of one specifically or compared to the UBC one at this point, but yeah, it'd be really interesting to do something like that in Alberta for sure.
So I've been at a seminar here, and I think somebody from forestry was or the wood people were presenting, and they mentioned that it had gone to permitting for 6 stories and now it's like higher to the 18 and whatnot.
Yes.
Because you think of some of the older buildings in England and whatnot that have been there for centuries, made out of wood, so
Yes,
maybe we're finally getting with it or something.
absolutely. I think there's a lot of opportunity for sure.
Mhm. Counselors, questions? Counselor Good.
Roger had a comment there.
Oh, sorry, Roger.
Oh, yes. Or, yes, please. Thank you.
I'm gonna wear 2 hats while I talk to you. I'm Roger Ashfield. I'm the managing director at Mercer. I'm also the chairman of the Alberta Forest Products Association. So I do deal with a lot of the different things. We do have an Alberta mass timber company that's operating and building a lot of very, very incredible buildings across Alberta. I don't know that we have a student housing complex, but they have quite a few big builds across Alberta, and it is quite amazing, and they are structured to do those same buildings.
That's good. And I know, one of the former mill managers also sits on the watershed, group as, the rep from the forestry sector.
That's right.
So you're all over the place.
We are, yeah.
Counselors for the questions? No. Well, we know that Mercer is a very important, part of our community and the region in terms of, well, jobs, business and so on. And the fires probably added to the angst over the last few years as well. Yeah.
Yeah, if you talk about the softwood dispute, if you think of it in the Mercer context, we break pulp, but all of our chips for the softwood component of our pulp comes from the sawmills. So if the sawmills are gonna see up to 50% additional cost to everything that they produce, that's gonna put us in jeopardy of not getting the chips that we need to make more pulp. So and then pulp is actually on the list for tariffs as well. So we could get hit on both ends of our product line as well.
Counselors, any further questions? Okay, so I heard you mention that you would request that council send a letter of support to well, both provincial and federal peoples as much as we can. Okay. I think that probably be a
Would it be appropriate to?
sure.
I'll make a motion if I can, that council send letters of support as indicated by the presentation from Laura Brandon.
Yes, we kind of, every time you listen to any little news article lately, you're kind of thinking, what's next? I heard it described as a yo-yo sort of thing, so might as well just keep stringing it along because you don't know. It's very disheartening in terms of relationships, shall we say.
It makes it hard to plan your business cycle, for
Yes.
sure.
Yes, I would imagine. Well, thank you very much. And we have a motion before us. Would you be able to read it back, Ms. Parsons?
Move that council send a letter of support as requested by Alberta Forest Products Association.
Make it plural, I think that she had mentioned two.
To the MP and also her MPs. So Peace River MP,
Premier,
yeah, okay. So any MPs that are involved in our forestry area, as well as any MLAs, which is probably 3 or 4 of them at least. And the Minister of Forestry or whatever the department might be called these days.
I will add, there was a component of that presentation about doing trade in other areas. And I actually accompanied Todd Lowen on a trade mission to Japan in November. That was quite successful. It was, they're very keen to use our softwood, so it was a very great mission to go on.
Good to hear. Were you, are you being impacted, like you're a member of the rail advocacy group? Are you being impacted by lack of rail cars and odds and ends in the rail industry, shall we say?
Yes, on a regular basis, yeah. As a matter of fact, down to below 50% of our required cars, and have to switch to trucks, which, in our business, that's almost $100 more a ton to ship by truck than it is by train. So it's very, very impactful, yeah.
Okay, Ms. Parsons, would you be able to read a motion to us?
I just have that, move that council send letters of support, as requested by the Alberta Products Forest Association, and then in brackets, we just have regional MLAs.
Okay, that is your motion. Everybody understands the motion? All those in favor? And I see Councillor Shannon has joined us, so.
In
Councillor
favor.
Shannon. Okay, thank you. Okay, well, thank you very much for your presentation, and but all I can say is best of luck with the future. Especially with respect to the tariffs. So thank you. Okay, next we have bylaws, and we have none to discuss tonight. Unfinished business, again, none to discuss. New business, however, we have Mrs. Bell with the disposal of town-owned lands, 8700 100th Avenue, Peace River.
Thank you, Your Worship and Council. The briefing note before you is a piece of information related to another step of the disposal of the property formerly known as Lions Campground, the town portion of said property. As per the Municipal Government Act, there is a requirement to advertise this disposal. In this particular case, because it is a recreational site, and the possibility of the sale below market value. At this point, we don't know, but just in case, we're highlighting that component of possibility. So as per our advertising bylaw, it's been posted on social media and on the town website. Community members have up to 15 days after the last date of publication to submit a petition against the resolution of council if there is feeling to do so. So wanted to make council aware of why this was posted, because this might be looking a little bit out of the blue, but it is a component of our requirement as per the Municipal Government Act.
Thank you. Councillors, any questions at this point in time? Councillor Carr?
Who's determining market value? Do we have it appraised? Oh,
Yes, we are completing an appraisal on the property.
Any further questions? Then would someone like to put forth a motion on this matter? Councillor Good?
I'll move the council accept the briefing note regarding the notice period for disposal of town-owned lands located at 8700 100th Avenue, Peace River, formerly known as Lions Campground, for information.
Thank you. Does anyone have any further questions for clarification or otherwise? Everybody's in favor of the motion? Pardon me.
Aye.
Everybody clear on the motion. How about in being in favor now? Thank you, Councillor Shannon. Okay, it is carried. Thank you. Okay, also Mrs. Bell, the Community Services Board Member appointments.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Community Services Board has a number of vacancies, recent vacancies, and we are pleased to bring forward to council 2 applicants, one applicant for a member at public large and another applicant as representative of Indigenous heritage. We have a Miss Ray for the member at public at large that the Community Services Board presents for a request to approve and appoint the individual for a 3-year term. And our second applicant is Miss Inga Langto, and she is being brought forward as representative of Indigenous heritage with the support of the Community Services Board also.
Thank you. Councillors, any questions? Could someone perhaps put forth the first motion? Council Board?
Sure, I put a motion on the floor, your worship, that council appoint Amanda Ray to the Community Service Board. Community Services Board is a public member at large for a 3-year term.
Thank you. Are we all clear on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it is carried. Thank you. And perhaps another motion dealing with the second applicant?
Sure, I'll move that council appoint Inga Langto to the Community Services Board as a representative of Indigenous Heritage for a 3-year term.
Thank you. Any discussion? Everybody is clear on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
It is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Bell.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Mr. Kress to Protective Services, February 2025 call-up report.
Your worship and councilors. For my report for the month of February. As you see here, we've had 68 files that was created here within the town. That's to do with the garbage, traffic bylaw, sidewalks, and assist ATCO in going to a residential area. We had 10 town tags issued, 1 provincial tag, and 40 warnings issued, so I'm doing a lot of educating before our gentleman starts, so. As you see a report there, we will provide it, and in this report, I was only here 3 weeks out of the month, I was away on a conference call. And then our bylaw officer was off for a couple days because he became a dad, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a very good month. We'll see how March brings us. Thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
So, for instance, if you have the first one, waste management, there was 3 tickets, complaints, etc. What sort of thing would be waste management?
So that would be the garbage bins in residential area in cul-de-sacs. So people are parking improper and angle, and then now they have to put the garbage cans out in the street behind their vehicles. And then people are having issues trying to back out into the roadway, and then the garbage truck is having issues. So we are looking at avenues for 4plexes to get garbage bins instead of garbage containers.
Okay, so in a cul-de-sac then,
Yes,
that kind of where people have taken to angle parking rather than parallel to the.
yes, curb.
Okay, and how about for trespass?
Trespass would be businesses downtown calling me on individuals that are banned from their business,
Okay.
and then I go down and remove them from the property.
Okay, well, I might as well keep on then. How about traffic bylaw?
Traffic bylaw would be improper parallel park, parked in a no parking zone. So they get a notification on their vehicle that they're not allowed to be there.
So, some should quit parking 4 feet from the curb for the
Yeah.
parallel parking? Okay, good to know. Traffic, I can kind of get that one. Sidewalks, that would be what?
The ice and issues in areas where they've never been cleaned, so there was like 4 or 5 inches of ice, so our bylaw officer stopped and gave them a warning and said,
Okay.
please do, so.
Yeah, and then you've got priority 2, priority 3.
So upon our new program, this was implemented in by the company, so now I've changed it for priority 2 would be like sidewalks, lawn care, unsightly, so it's all changed to directives, so you guys would understand where we're working on. Priority 3 would be, dealing with, we had an issue of a guy doing stalking for our staff, so we created a priority 3, so which is a high risk. And so we keep that still under investigation.
So the
So,
priorities are kind of an internal thing to.
yes, so now there will be no more priorities, it will be listed as
What it is.
what it is individually,
Okay,
so.
and then garbage as opposed to waste management?
Garbage was,
bags of garbage just laying around on the ground and the birds were pulling apart. And so he educated them that they had to use their bin instead of just garbage bags out on the street.
And assisting ATCO with the dangerous house.
Yes, so that one was, ATCO, it's a known drug house. They just wanted, myself there. Our CMP wouldn't go, so I went and they just had to go in and check the meter because the house was freezing, but the gas meter was still working, so they wanted to try and figure out what was wrong with that one.
And lastly, serving documents.
That is our unsightly that we took to the King's Bench.
Okay, so it was, somebody had complained to the town about an unsightly premise. Your department checked it out and decided it needed to go further because.
Yes, this was prior to me coming, but I found out it was all last year. They tried to work with this individual to clean up his yard. His fences were falling down, the yard was full of garbage. So we ended up taking enough documentation and taking it to the Court of King's Bench where we won. And now that property will be cleaned up.
All the neighbors and those driving by will be appreciative, I'm sure. Counselors, yes, Counselor Ford.
Yeah, mine's just more of a comment because, Mr. Kress and I had a chat the other day. So it is, and I was not aware of this, but it is to my understanding now that if a community member has a complaint or concern, if they report it on the Town of Peace River websites,
Yeah.
instead of it going into JITBIT and sitting there for a bit,
Yes,
that goes directly to you, so it's like live reporting.
if it comes to my email, yes, yes. But we are setting up a new program trying to, so that we're like a dispatch, a phone setup, so that an on-call phone. So that if people need complaints coming in, it will go to that or the on-call
Right.
email.
Great. Counselors, any further questions? Well, thank you, Mr. Kress. Very interesting, and it's good to see the department moving forward.
Thank you.
And summer is coming, so that'll be a different set of things, I'm sure. Would someone be prepared to put forth a motion on this matter? Yeah,
The motion on the floor, your worship, to accept the, report for information.
thank you, Mr. Ford. Everybody's clear of the motion? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Thank you, it is carried. Next up, we have a request from myself, additional per diem days for rural education symposium. And then Mrs. Miller.
Thank you, Your Worship. Administration is bringing this forward because, back in February, we brought forward an invitation from one of the school boards for one of our council members to attend their conference. I think it was Holy Cross. So Holy Family Catholic Regional Division, that invitation was accepted, and it was between Mayor Manser and Councillor Shannon. It was actually one of our council members was invited. They were taking two from the region. So Mayor Manser was the successful
Coin toss.
Thank you. Yeah, you decided amongst yourselves, and that conference was just this weekend, I believe, or this past week. Administration failed to ask for the additional per diem days to be authorized. So we're looking for a motion of council to approve the 3 per diem days, because these were unexpected and outside of our normal council plan. Thank you.
I will report that it was an excellent conference as well. So thank you to Holy Family School Division. So, I guess we're asking if someone would like to put forth motion on the topic. Counselor Good?
I'll move the council approve an additional 3 per diem days for Mayor Manser's attendance at the Rural Education Symposium with Holy Family Catholic Regional Division on March 2nd to 4th, 2025.
Thank you. Any questions, discussion? Everybody clear on the motion? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
It is carried. Thank you for that support. Next up, we have a request from County of Northern Sunrise or Northern Lights. And we have Mrs. Miller speaking to this.
Thank you again, your worship and council. So we did receive a letter from County of Northern Lights. They're seeking a letter of support for their funding application under the STIP program to complete an asphalt overlay project for the Manning Airport. So that request for decision is brought forward before you.
Thank you. Does this have any impact on any of the applications we would have for the STIP funding? Or it's kind of in support of the regional matter?
I believe they separate out of the STIP, they apply so much for airport funding. I believe that.
Any further questions? Someone like to put forth a motion on this matter? Councilor Cook?
I'll move the council. I'll move the direct administration to provide letter of support for the County of Northern Lights funding application under strategic transportation infrastructure program for an upcoming asphalt overlay project at the Manning Airport.
Thank you, Mr. Good. Any further discussion? Everybody's clear on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
It is carried. Thank you. Okay, now we move into reports and we have the February 26, 2025 draft regional RCMP community advisory meeting minutes. Councilor Ford, anything you'd like to highlight?
Sure, we did a SEPTED walk, a couple of years ago, so the group is planning on doing another SEPTED walk downtown. We'll be arranging a date for that. I also have to bring up our new peace officer or director of protective services on that program we did. Also, big news with the provincial RCMP, Peter Tuvik, chief superintendent, retired from the service on May the 7th. And other than that, we've got a lot of, seems to be a lot of increase of break and enters around our communities.
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Ford on the advisory committee? Councilor Good?
I just want to call one question on the vacancies, the presentation of the crime statistics. That there's 4 soft vacancies, and does that mean that those 4 were away for the duration of the reporting period, or were they a couple of days here and there? So, and then the 1 hard vacancy, and then it looks like 2 new recruits coming in the end of April, 2 people leaving, so that's a net nothing. As part of the change in staffing. But I know we've been asking for a while to get a sort of a staffing report or a historical staffing report over the last while. So I'd just like to leave that out there, that it'd be interesting, good information for council to have.
Speaking to the vacancies, that is correct. We have 2 new members coming in from Depot. We have 2 other members that are moving on elsewhere. Now, the soft vacancies are more like,
Well, their maternity and stuff.
yeah, exactly.
But it's for how long they're away for, like during a period of, my concern is if it's a maternity and you're away for 6 months or a year and it's not filled with another person, then you're down that person for the whole period of time. The same with paternity leave and the medical leaves, depending on how long you're off injured. And again, no criticism of the individuals involved. But if we're supposed to have like 12 bodies or 10 bodies or 5, whatever that number is, and you have the vacancies, then you don't have the number of people that you're supposed to have working during those times. And we're having issues in this town where being staffed appropriately would be appropriate. So I just want some more clarification on that.
Just to speak in regards to that as well, there's another, a report that came out from our staff sergeant, which is not attached to these minutes, but I do believe that some of the information you're looking for is in that report, so I would just ask, maybe our CAO to, reach out to our staff sergeant and provide that report to council.
Sure. Mrs. Miller?
What I can say about vacancies that I do know, soft vacancies, they don't backfill. So you're right, if it is a maternity or medical that's for some time, that position will remain empty. It's only the hard vacancies that they will seek to replace.
I also note in 8.4 of the minutes that, it's made mention that the town is working on forming a regional, policing committee along with Edson for now. So, we were looking at all other 4 partners, were we not? Has it been narrowed down to Edson, or is it, just kind of the one that came to mind?
All of our partners have opted to ask for an exemption to form their own municipal committee. So we'll have to reach out to the minister's office to find out if we can proceed creating our own regional committee with just one member. Or if we automatically get an exemption to municipal, so there'll be some follow-up and some more information to come.
At one of the conferences I was at lately, it was made mention, and I think I have it correct, that say we as a town wanted to form a committee with our surrounding partners, that was not the sort of committee they were looking at. The reason being, we're between 5,000 and 15,000 people, and we have our own policing contract, and it is only with others that have their own policing contract in our area that we would form a regional one. So there'll be some maybe adjustments to our advisory committee too, depending upon how the discussions go in the future, I guess. So, to be seen. And, what else? Oh, I noticed, congratulations in order to, Staff Sergeant, Blair. She seems to have been made Staff Sergeant,
I just,
no longer acting.
correct, I just haven't received formal.
I was wondering about that, yeah. Okay, but counselors, any further questions? Okay, so we usually get a quarterly report from RCMP, and that might be the report that answers Councillor Good's questions. So I think that'll be upcoming, Ms. Parsons.
Yes, they're scheduled to give a delegation presentation in April.
Okay, great. Okay. Okay, the other one, we had here, do we have 2 of them? No, that's it. Okay. If there's no further questions on that, would someone move that council accept report 9.1 for information? Councillor Carr?
Aye.
Okay, Councillor Carr this time moves. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
It is carried. Thank you. Information, we have the council communication package of February 28. And in there, I would like to perhaps draw your attention to section 1, part 2. Basically, the University of Alberta, the Northern Alberta Medical Program, is hoping that we will help advertise that the program is in existence and they are looking for applicants. They'll be starting their doctor training programs next fall with, I think it's at least 20 they're hoping to start with, and then it increases almost double that until it gets to 100 and some in a couple of years. So this is at Fairview, or pardon me, at Grand Prairie. New program, lots of money put into it, and lots of organization. They're hoping to have, say, regional people take the program in Grand Prairie, and then they might feel more inclined to stay in the region depending upon what the training leads them into. So if you can spread the word while outwise, that would be great. Anybody else want to bring up anything from the communication package? Okay, there was one other thing, Peace River and District Chamber of Commerce. I might have been in their memo here that they are advertising the Energy Alberta Open House, which is March 11th at Weberville Hall from 4 to 8 p.m. So that's tomorrow. Okay, so the next one, we have the draft March 3rd Governance and Priorities minutes in front of us for information, and that's about it for information items. So would someone move that council accept items 10.1 and 10.2 for information? Councillor Shannon?
Yep, I can do that one.
Great, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Mrs. Miller, any, notice of motion?
I have none, your worship.
Okay, next section is comment from the public. And we have one public person here.
Just one, unfortunately. I wish council was better attended.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe, more people watch online than I.
There are a few, yeah. So if you have questions, you've got about 5 minutes and
Correct me if I'm wrong, but in the MGA, I understand that there would be usually suggestion says 20 minutes. And if you had 10 people, you would divide that 20 minutes by the 10 people, thus giving the,
so I think we have to go by our procedural bylaw, which, in this case, it overrides MGA in that part of things. Is it
So
3 minutes?
you're saying that Peace Rivers bylaw overrides the MGA?
In this section, I think we get to, do our own thing a little bit. It might be a suggestion in the MGA.
Well, it's a guideline,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah,
Well, so seeing as how it is 20 minutes,
you don't have
and
20,
can I finish making my point?
yes,
If I get to the end, it might make more sense.
okay.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mm.
If there was 10 people, you would divide that by 2 minutes per person, let's say, so that would use up the allotted 20 minutes in theory. But seeing as how there's not 10 people, there's only one, I could argue that in theory, I might be entitled to the whole 20 minutes according to the MGA. I'm not gonna contest that here this evening, but I will say that when I speak, I try to be as concise and succinct as possible. And sometimes I don't appreciate being rushed if I'm trying to make a legitimate contribution to the proceedings, and I bothered to attend the meeting, Your Honor.
So you've got about 3 minutes.
I would like to say hello to our new Director of Protective Services, and I had a question for you, sir.
So you have to direct the questions to me and then,
Okay. In regards to the garbage bags being picked open, sometimes, as we all know, the birds will get after the blue recycling bags that are put out for that program. I trust there would be some consideration for that, given by Protective Services in regards to, how's that handled if it's not intentional garbage and it was something you're supposed to put out for recycling and it gets picked over by the birds?
so Mrs. Miller. Response.
Through you, your worship, our Director of Protective Services is, and the department works on education to start with, so a resident is not going to be ticketed on the first occasion. They're gonna be spoken to and informed of the requirements. And then on future offenses, I would suggest they would be, given a ticket.
Well, CAO Miller, I've tried to speak to my birds repeatedly about not misbehaving and getting into my responsibly put out blue recycling garbage bags. But the birds don't seem to be cooperating, and I get out there and clean it up as fast as I can after the incident has actually been noticed. But I don't feel that in that instance, if there's nothing in the recycling to attract the birds per se, it's all put in there and cleaned, and there's nothing there as a food source or attracting to the birds, that would necessarily warrant any kind of punitive measure.
But you're experiencing this?
Yes,
Personally?
I clean it up probably 3 or 4 times a summer. The culprits are usually crows and ravens.
Well, again, I would suggest if it's on a rare occasion, I would suggest our protective services person could tell if it's a regular instance an ongoing issue or if it's a one-off. So I think I would like to address these on the one-offs and not through council meeting, if that's okay, your worship.
Well, I just was trying to seek some clarification on that point. In regards to the RCMP, I was wondering if we know per se, per capita by a population compared to other towns our size, do we have more or less of a police presence? Say, I don't have an example, but by a population, my understanding is that a lot of towns our size have quite a bit less of a police presence per population density than we do. We are a Northern Training Center and thing for rookies and other events that my understanding is that we have more RCMP for our population size than a lot of other towns
So
of a similar size. Do we know if that's true or not?
I do not know if that's true. Peace River Town Detachment, we pay for 11.5, I think it is, officers. And, then there is the surrounding part of the detachment, the regional part that, is funded by others. And I'm not quite sure how many are in that, but I think it's almost equivalent. So it could appear that we have, I don't know, say double somebody else's, but we have the regional component as well as our town component that work out of the same office, so it's hard to say.
Well, with what goes on in the last 5 years or since I was a kid, I'm not against a few more RCMP looking after us than there was before anyway, but I was just curious about our numbers compared to other towns. That's all.
Yeah, so I can't give you an answer for sure. We're just about out of time, so.
Well, thank you very much for allowing me to ask my questions. I hope everybody's well this evening and it was nice to see everybody.
Thank you. Take care of yourself. So we now have key communication items. Counselors, what would you put forth?
I'd like to put forth all those welcome letters that went out. That was nice to see.
Welcome to new business letters from the town. Yeah. I think there was 5 or 6 of them at least. Councillor Carr?
I think the nuclear presentation tonight is key.
Me? Any others? Councillor Ford?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention the reporting process for our protective services. Please report. The community, please report online so that it goes directly to our Director of Protective Services and they can respond accordingly.
Thank you. Councillor Good?
Yeah, I'd like to, sort of get attention paid to the presentation we got from the Alberta Forest Products Association. I know that they're asking us to write letters on their behalf, and in letter writing campaigns, the more the merrier. So I would, it certainly wouldn't hurt if members of the public who are affected by the forest industry in this town, we have a lot of Mercer employees. I think the last numbers, this was a number of years back, about 85% of the workers at Mercer were from the Peace River Grimshaw area. And that's a lot of people that this affects. And it's a great economic driver. And also the amount of contribution that Mercer makes just to the social fabric of this town is important. So I think having letters of support from our population would go a long way.
Thank you. I would also make mention that pond hockey, I think, had a very successful weekend. So thank you to the volunteers and the board. I was out there yesterday afternoon. The wind was a little cold, but everybody was having a lot of fun. And it looked like, the food was a good thing as well, which was locally supplied. Anything else? Okay, well, thank you for that. And, next up, we're going to be going into closed session. So we'll ask that, we'll take say a 5-minute break and allow people to move around and come back at 5:50.
Maybe want to let our viewers know that it won't be coming back.
And for anybody out in virtual land, we will not be broadcasting the closed session or the rest of the meeting. Thank you.